sports fans. It's time for the Unnamed Sports Show with your host, Joshua Griffith.
Thank you, Don Andrews, for that amazing introduction. I am, of course, your host, Joshua Griffith, and this is the Unnamed Sports Show on the Sports Talkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. Big treat today for the NBA fans, as I have the one and only Jay Canada on today to join me and break down the NBA trade deadline. That's right. It's trade deadline day, and what a show we have lined up for you. So we're going to get caught up with the trades. We're going to get caught up with who we think is going to go far in the East, in the West. Lots to chat about with injuries, who's our favorite in the conferences, MVP race, and going to talk about Jay Canada's new basketball cinema channel. So before we get into things with Jay, make sure you like and subscribe the video down at the bottom. Comment along. Let us know what you guys think of all of our discussions. We want to hear from you, NBA fans. So make sure to subscribe to the Sports Talkline channel if you don't already, and hit that big blue join button for extra perks like green room chats and lots of extra perks. So hope that you guys enjoy this chat with Jay Canada as much as I did today. Thrilled to be joined by the one and only Jay Canada. Jay, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you doing today? How's your family? Everyone staying safe and healthy?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. I guess it's been over a year of having to ask that, hey, COVID and everything. But doing well. Lots going on in the NBA. So just a great time of the year.
Yeah, and I've been trying to get you on for a while to chat some NBA, but you are a really busy guy. You ran into a couple snafus, I guess, and even some today. But I have you on now, so big day today, NBA trade deadline. What did you make of the trade deadline today?
Other than, and I'm sure we'll get into it, other than the Kyle Lowry non-deal, it kind of fulfilled our wildest expectations. I mean, you look at the big names that did get dealt: Nikola Vucevic, Victor Oladipo, Aaron Gordon. These were the guys that were rumored to be on the move, and they were. So it fulfilled. I don't know exactly how you want to go through this, Josh, but like, to me, there's a few certain winners and a few certain losers, but overall, a really fun morning.
Yes, I saw your tweet of the winners and the losers. So we'll bring that up with so you had the Heat, the Bulls, and the Nuggets, the winners of today, of the trade deadline day. You had the Raptors and the Rockets as losers, and Magic, Celtics, Blazers, Clippers to be determined.
Yeah, and I had a lot of people in my in my replies convincing me otherwise about their favorite team. But look, to me, like, the big story, unfortunately, and I hate to go negative on it, but like, to me, the biggest story is the losers, or that's mean, but like the inactive teams, the teams that didn't take a win. That's the big story, because to me, like you mentioned, they're Raptors and Rockets. And you look at the Raptors. Okay, so the deal they did make, Norm Powell for Gary Trent Jr., that was a weird one for me. Also, Rodney Hood coming back. I like Norm. He's been great this season. Maybe Masai and Bobby Webster looked at it and said, okay, we're gonna trade from a position of he's not getting any better than this, which is like fair enough. But it's a really lateral move where you're bringing back a player in the same mold, an elite 3-point shooter and perimeter player like Gary Trent Jr., but a guy who's younger. So I guess that carries more value. It just seemed a little bit like a lateral move to me. Maybe Gary Trent Jr.'s ceiling is higher than what we're seeing right now from Norm. You lock him in. He's an RFA this summer. It could work out. But after that, even if I give that a thumbs up grade or whatever grade, not trading Kyle Lowry is such a missed opportunity. Like, it really is. And I get the perspective of, okay, he might be the greatest Raptor of all time. Your mileage may vary on that conversation. He's at least one of the top 2 or 3. He's a franchise icon. It is hard to just up and deal a guy like that at the deadline in any sport. But at the same time, you went through the process of saying, even if it wasn't explicitly, we're trading Kyle Lowry. Like, we expected it last night, Wednesday night on TSN and Sportsnet. Like, man, it was like a eulogy, like, oh, there couldn't be a better way for Raptors legend to be sent off than this plus 46 performance from Kyle Lowry. Like, it would have been okay to trade him. and then you come away without it. Now you're looking at a guy who, although he's still playing at a high level, you're looking at a 35-year-old who doesn't factor into your future plans with an expiring deal. So are you going to re-up him this summer for, another 1-year deal and try this all again next year? Well, point guards don't age very well. They just don't. Look at Steve Nash. Look at, Jason Kidd. He moved into a different style of play. But my point is, he's not getting any better. He's not carrying any more value. So to not trade him, I couldn't wrap my mind around that one.
So obviously Masai Ujiri was looking for a big bundle and a big package. And that seems to be part of the reason why they didn't move on from him. And he's a free agent at the end of the year. So in some aspects, Jay, I kind of agree with you on this one, but this is where I was messaging back and forth. I was like, oh, you didn't like the Raptors moves? I kind of like the Raptors moves this year because they might be, kind of in a place of a lateral move, like you said, for the Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. But they're only a game and a half out of the 10th spot and realistically only 3 games back of Boston for 8th. So
right.
I don't think they're going to I don't think they wanted to throw in the towels here. I don't think Masai Ujiri was like, okay, I'm going to give it all up for a lottery pick. And then 2, I like their decision to get rid of, Matt Thomas for a 2nd round pick.
Sure.
Terrence Davis for a 2nd round pick. So I actually I had the Raptors in the winning column, despite not trading Kyle Lowry, even though I think that would have been a good decision.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. And I'm here for that take as well. To me, I've been on this and back at the old TSN 1040 RIP when I was doing nothing but net at the beginning of the year. One of my projections or opinions was that like the Raptors should figure out right away is what they're doing this season, what they have. And then they should be looking like I've been talking about trading Kyle Lowry at the deadline since the beginning of the year. It just seemed like the perfect pathway with the way their contracts were structured now around Pascal and Fred and OG and I thought Norman Powell, but obviously that didn't turn out to be correct. I just think that even if they make the playoffs, they turn things around and go on a run here, they aren't a championship team. And in trading for Kyle Lowry or keeping Kyle Lowry in the Raptors case, that's kind of like, okay, we're taking a risk on this expiring contract 35-year-old to try and win a championship. And I just don't think that's where the Raptors are at. Now, the other thing is like, we'll never know for a fact what was being offered or what wasn't being offered. But just as an example, I pulled it up on Twitter here to make sure I remembered it correctly. There was a report from John Clark of NBC saying the Raptors wanted Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, 2 first-round picks from the Sixers. Yeah. So that's 2 really highly touted young-ish roster pieces and 2 first-round picks, albeit they would have been late. Like, to me, that's too much to give up for Kyle Lowry if I was Philadelphia. Yeah. When I heard the reported return for the Lakers was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Dennis Schroeder, and Talen Horton-Tucker, probably a few draft picks tacked on. I also thought, man, that is a lot to give up for Kyle Lowry. But from the Raptors' perspective, it really did seem like they were pushing and then pushed too far. And then the Lakers just said, nah, we're good. And the Heat said, nah, we got Victor Oladipo for dimes on the dollar. Like, that's where, again, if they would have just said, yeah, we'll listen for an offer on Kyle, maybe whatever. It just seemed like they were positioning themselves through the media and through these reports. They were trying to trade him and then failed, which is now like, okay, so now here we are, and what's the future going to hold? And I don't know that. You don't know that. Hopefully it works out for the Raptors.
Yeah, hopefully it works out for the Raptors because, obviously up here in Canada, we're kind of biased and at least I'm cheering for the Raptors someday. But, you mentioned the Heat, and as one of the winners, I will 100% agree with you on that one. The Heat came out of this one looking like they want to make the NBA Finals once again this year with that trade for Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, and something that this is going to be an aside that just it helps bring it up. So the next, for those people that don't know, I make YouTube videos. I have a new channel called Basketball Cinema where I revisit old NBA games and the impact they had on the league.
Oh, we're gonna bring all that.
We're gonna bring that up
later too. Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Plug it away.
So the next video I have coming out, just a teaser for that, is game 7 of the 2019 West Finals between the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
If we remember,
yes,
27 missed threes in a row. That's the hook of that game. It was unbelievable. And rewatching that game, I was like, I can't believe they didn't stop shooting threes. But the preface to that, the action in that game was, I had to give the Rockets, and I still do, a lot of props for being one of the few teams, in fact, probably the only other Western Conference team that said, we're going to take a shot at the Warriors. They have Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Who cares? We're going to take a shot. They traded future assets for Chris Paul and said, we're going all in. Let's go. And 27 missed threes, things could have gone their way and they could have overtaken them. That's a long way of saying that I kind of feel like what Miami did today and what they've got going is similar to what the Rockets did during those KD Rockets era, because it's so easy right now for teams in the East. And I'm not trying to say that Philadelphia not going all in on Lowry is this, but it's really easy to just say, that Brooklyn Nets team looks pretty good. Let's just chill for a second. Yeah. And the Heat didn't do that. The Heat said, no. We were there last year. We're not giving up our Eastern Conference throne that quickly. Let's add another borderline all-star now player in Victor Oladipo. I don't think the news has come out officially yet, but let's possibly add LaMarcus Aldridge from the buyout market. And now you're looking at a Heat team that, they've kind of underachieved this year, but obviously they have playoff pedigree. You love what Jimmy Butler does in the playoffs every year. Bam Adebayo is, a budding superstar, and you add in Victor Oladipo for nothing. Got to be a W.
Yeah, and to the addition of Trevor Ariza, that's going to help them as well. Another team that that you were talking about got a W in the trade deadline was the Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
I mean, when I first saw the deal, when I first saw the deal for Vucevic, which was Wendell Carter, the other player that I'm missing off the top, Otto Porter Jr. Yeah. 2 firsts, I believe. 2 firsts, I think.
2021 first round and 2023 first round pick.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was like, man, really? And then I thought about it some more, and I looked up the numbers, and it's like, no, wait a minute. Well, I like this. It's a bit unconventional. So I just spent minutes waxing poetic about how the Raptors should have traded 35-year-old Kyle Lowry, because it's all about, like, the NBA is all about positioning yourself with where your team is in the development scale. Like, either you're a young team or you're an old team. You're either a contender or you're not a contender. The Bulls picking up Nikola Vucevic, he's 30. He's under contract for this year, next year. And guess what? He's really, really good. Like, he's come into his own. He's averaging 25 a game this year. He's developed into a 40% three-point shooter. And it's like, wait a minute. I guess we, speaking personally too, we sometimes forget about that middling tier where it's like the Bulls have a borderline playoff roster already. Zach LaVine has all of a sudden become a star, maybe a lowercase star, but he's there. He's averaging 28 a game. Why don't you add in his prime all-star good big man? And that's what Nikola Vucevic is. It just feels like we never really see those kind of moves right now. So when I assess the trade a little bit more, I mean, Wendell Carter, kind of a bust, a draft bust. Otto Porter, he's being passed around the league now like crazy. And if things work out with Vucevic, those aren't lottery picks. So for the Bulls, reasonable haul to give up for a guy who, again, like, it's a weird world in which Nikola Vucevic might be like a top 4 or 5 center in the NBA, but he's played that way this season. So for that, with that being said, he's not a rental. You hope to extend him probably if you're Chicago. I like what they've got going between him and LaVine specifically.
So, I mean, that brings us to the East. We'll get back in some more of the NBA trade deadline moves now, as I'm joined by my guest, Jay Canada, on the Unnamed Sports Show here. The East is completely wide open. I thought there would be some move by the Knicks or Charlotte, obviously with LaMelo Ball going down. But what do you see in the Eastern Conference? The Milwaukee Bucks made a deal for PJ Tucker today. They have 8 wins in a row. They passed the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite coming out of the East? Are the 76ers going to be able to hold on to that spot, do you think?
I mean, the basic answer that I'm going to give you is that I think the Nets are the favorite. Yeah. And when the Harden trade came through, I had major questions about their defense, and it looked like in the moment, it looked like, oh, this is actually, it's so bad. It could kill them, which is rare to see. But at this point, their defense it's reasonable. It's fine. But we realize what having a locked in James Harden, in addition to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, like, you don't need much more analysis than that. Like,
who haven't even played.
Yeah, exactly.
Games.
They haven't. No. So it's like, you don't even need to analyze it much more than, at least for the first 2, probably 3 rounds of the playoffs. Like, how do you beat that? I really don't know. And, with Joel Embiid on the mend, whenever he comes back, let's, assume he's going to be 100%. You think with Philly, like in a potential series with Brooklyn, like who's going to match up with Joel Embiid? Brooklyn has nobody. And they're pretty well positioned. Like Ben Simmons probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Stick him on whoever you want. You want Durant, Kyrie, or Harden out of the game. You can kind of neutralize them. But there's still these 2 other guys, and I don't know. So I don't have much else to add other than I think Brooklyn is the definite favorite. But I mean, like you said, 8 wins in a row. Like, here comes Milwaukee. I made Josh, I'm on TikTok now, in case you haven't noticed.
I saw that. Oh my God. I didn't check out your newest video about the NBA draft yet, because I was doing some stuff for this, but yeah, no, I'm excited to check out your new channel.
Well, I've realized TikTok is a great place to give 1-minute NBA takes. So that's what I've been doing. And I made one the other day on the Giannis MVP thing, where it's like, wait a minute, he's playing amazing. Like, he is still that guy. And everything gets thrown out the window to me if we ever, and I know it's unfair to say this, but if we ever see Giannis take a LeBron-like leap. And what I mean by that is, I've been, for the past few years, been viewing Giannis in the same way I used to, or I look back and I view first Cleveland stint LeBron before Miami, where he took the league over, was undisputed as like, oh, this is probably the best player in the league, won 2 straight MVPs, flamed out both years in the playoffs.
But yeah, couldn't hit that.
And didn't adjust his game. And then the Miami year, which a lot of people in hindsight think he should have won the MVP in 2011. Again, he was awesome, probably should have won it for a regular season award, flamed out epically in the playoffs once again, as we know. So that's when I look at this Giannis MVP buzz, I'm like, man, guys don't win the MVP 3 years in a row, first of all. And second of all, if he's still not ready to take that playoff leap, I know it's a regular season award, the MVP, but if we had given LeBron 3 in a row at that time when he wasn't able to get over in the playoffs, it would look bad. So that was a bit of an aside, but basically what I'm saying is, if Giannis is ready to take the 2012 LeBron leap, where it was like, okay, he's got every single tool, he's got the league figured out, now he's going to do it in the playoffs and show what he's really about. If Giannis does that, Milwaukee's the favorite. Like, they are, because they're better this year. They've got Drew Holiday. PJ Tucker was a really good addition. Speaking of that 2019 Rockets team. So they've got all those pieces, but if it comes down to like Brooklyn's big 3, all guys who have proven in the playoffs, all guys who you don't have those question marks about, against Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis, who, like 24 points a game, Giannis, as opposed to Giannis 32 and 12, then Milwaukee doesn't stand a chance, in my opinion.
And one of the things that I was kind of worried about with Brooklyn was their depth, but it didn't seem to be a problem with James Harden and even the injuries coming in, because James Harden has almost kind of been a rejuvenated James Harden. And then the addition of Blake Griffin, who can obviously dunk again now, which is great to see.
Barely, but yeah.
Barely, but yeah, it's going to be exciting in the East. Do you think there's going to be a surprise story? I mean, I really like what the New York Knicks are doing, especially defensively this year. The Knicks, Boston's fell back, but yeah, what do you think?
It's so weird, because at the beginning of the year, I thought like there was a definite tier gap in the NBA. I thought it was the 76ers, in the East. Philly, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Miami, and Boston seemed like the 5 clear favorites. And then I had Indiana, Toronto after. Yeah. I feel the same way, Josh. I really do. Even though we see Boston, they're under 500, they're in 8th. Charlotte, obviously you'd expect them to kind of tank now without LaMelo in there. The Knicks, like you said, they've been cool, a good story. With the additions Miami made, I view them, and they're right knocking on the door anyways, I view them as one of the top 4 teams with Milwaukee, Philly, Brooklyn. And I think Boston, as much as they've underwhelmed this year, I would still say they're probably the 5th best team in the East, especially come playoff series when Tatum and Brown can really do their thing. So might we see a first round upset? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we see Boston exiting early. Yeah, maybe. But that top 3 or 4, that top 4 with Miami now, like, seems like it's going to be unpenetrable in my opinion.
We are going to see some fantastic playoff rounds in the East. I'm excited for that. So let's get to the West. Not as much moves as I thought would come out of the West. Still waiting on some of the buyout stuff. Looks like LaMarcus Aldridge has passed and everything. JJ Redick going to the Dallas Mavericks. That big move for them, and a kind of I guess a swap for the Hawks and Clippers for Lou Williams and Rajon Rondo. Kind of helps the Clippers, but with the Lakers suffering so many injuries, we kind of have also a wide open West too.
Yeah, the Lakers. It's funny now that I look at it. I've been looking at my document I wrote all the trades and trying to figure out my thoughts. Funny, I'm looking at the standings now and I'm like, oh yeah, the Jazz not involved in anything. Suns, nope. Trailblazers, Maverick, like small moves, but
Jazz still 32-11. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they've been a powerhouse. And I not that I'm a fan, but I'm really hoping Utah finds a way to figure it out this year, at least a conference finals appearance, because to me, they're just always that team that's like, yeah, okay. The Rudy Gobert era, Donovan Mitchell era Jazz, they're really good. That's regular season, so time will tell there. But in terms of the West, I mean, the Lakers are in a really bad spot. I think I saw Shams earlier today talking about LeBron's injury was 4 to 6 weeks from the time it happened. And are we even I don't even think we're a week out from that injury. Yeah. And Anthony Davis has just been kind of a mystery. Like the Lakers could legitimately fall into the 8-9, like the play-in game range without those guys, especially now that they didn't pick up a Kyle Lowry who possibly could have figured some stuff out there. But yeah, I mean, as for the West, I didn't love that move by the Clippers. A lot of people are all in on Rondo because playoff Rondo and he won a championship with the Lakers last year. And I'm kind of sitting here thinking like, yeah, I watched each of those games in the finals and I personally didn't think Rondo was one of the 5 best players on the Lakers, like 5 most important players. Whatever, maybe he was, but even still, like, does that solve the Clippers' problems? The Clippers' problems, yes, has been a lack of a point guard. Remember, Kawhi Leonard said that last year. We need a point guard. Sorry, Pat Bev. Sorry, Lou Will. But is I don't even know how old he's, 34, 35-year-old Rajon Rondo the answer? No, he's absolutely not. And as much as Lou Will is a guy who I'm really low on because Lou Will was played off the court because his lack of defense, or in a better way to look at it, or a more apt way, wasn't played off the court because Doc Rivers said, I'm going down with this ship in that series against Denver last year. But you replace a guy who's a liability defensively with Rajon Rondo, who, unless he gets on a tear like he was on last year, shooting some perimeter jumpers, kind of liability offensively. So I don't think that solved the problems for the Clippers. I mean, the Nuggets are a team that they got better. Aaron Gordon, I'm not a huge fan of, but to give up Gary Harris, who's really fallen out of the rotation there as well, RJ Hampton, who could be a nice piece in the future. That's a big bonus for the Nuggets, who have already been great, and Jokic looking like an MVP candidate. So, I don't know what your original question was. I just rambled on the West, but those are my thoughts at this moment anyways.
That's basically all of what the interview is going to be. Just us rambling about NBA.
Fair
so
enough.
It's fantastic. And I'll just get to my next segue with the Portland Trailblazers. They made the move for Norman Powell, obviously. Do you think that's going to be enough to push them up? And because, you don't want to be playing in that play-in series in the West, especially from 7 to 10. It's like, I mean, I don't want to play Golden State in the playoffs.
Yeah. And my answer is no. Portland is a team that, again, I'll reference the take I had about how the Rockets during that KD Warriors era, they really went for it. The other team that I actually mentioned in my video coming out about it, the Portland Trailblazers, they actually, throughout those years, they tried to do whatever they could to add to Dame and CJ to compete with the Warriors, and it climaxed with the 2019 West Finals when they got swept, but they gave it their all. And I think I might have said 2019 earlier in the interview. I meant 2018 Game 7 between the Rockets and Warriors. Anyways,
we can edit it out.
Yeah, not sure if anybody caught that, but the Trailblazers are still kind of doing that, where they're like, okay, we've got Dame and CJ. We're not budging off that. They are our guys. We're going to do whatever it takes. And to me, I just think, okay, we've seen this for 5 years and it has not worked. The league, although it's a jump shooting league, that is true. Come playoff time, it still gets to a point where, why did the Lakers have so much success? Why did they dominate the bubble last year? They were the biggest team, right? AD, yep. JaVale giving the minutes, Dwight Howard, and of course, LeBron. Like, yeah, they could shoot, but they wore teams down. And each year, year in, year out, we see the Trailblazers get to the playoffs, and expecting Dame to still be hitting 45% of his 30-plus foot range three-pointers, just not going to happen. It just isn't. So the one move they make, which is a fairly big splash, is bringing in another 6'4", 6'3" combo guard. Like, that's just insane to me. That really is. And yeah, Norm Powell's better than Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Sr.? Gary Trent Jr. Yeah.
Junior. The other one. Yeah. The other one played for the Raptors too, though. Which is
I saw that.
Fascinating.
He was traded once for him. Anyways, adding Norm Powell, like, it's just a move that doesn't change the dynamic for me. The same way I feel like, just to jump back to the Celtics briefly, good move for the Celtics, getting Evan Fournier for free, essentially. Yeah, fine move. But what did the Celtics need? And why were they? We know this because they were actively pursuing Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic. They needed a big man. Like, adding Evan Fournier to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, that's already your strength. So I feel the same way about the Trailblazers, where it's like, okay, are we going to see them in a playoff series against like the Clippers, for example, running Norman Powell, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard? Like, the Clippers hope so, right? Like, that's they would swallow that up. So yeah, man, the Trailblazers are just a team you want to root for, because Dame, the way he plays and everything he said about, never wanting to leave Portland, you just want him to have success. But I can't say they got substantially better here.
I have a soft spot for Portland. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I travel there all the time to cover the Whitecaps, but it seems like in the West, the teams that kind of made a move were the ones that went for the big guys, and people that, like, the teams that are still in need of the big man are still kind of in need of it. I mean, like, so we're getting a little bit off keel here, but yeah, like if you look at the Raptors, they lost in their championship years. They lost Marc Gasol, they lost Serge Ibaka. That, I guess what I'm trying to say is, as much as the league is going to like that 3-point shooting style and looking for the perimeter players and those players that can play multiple guard positions and the small forward, there's still such a need for the big man for teams.
Yeah, and it's just different. Like, you're not looking for the 7'1" back to the basket piece to add to your line. You're looking for what the 2021 version of the best big man on the floor. And that might be like, I know it didn't happen and it was never going to happen, but like, if Draymond Green was all of a sudden available, well, like, every team would have been in on Draymond Green because he would have been the best big man available. So yeah, I mean, I know from following a lot of Lakers people, like, the Lakers were, Marc Gasol's been okay, but he's old. He's less, a lot of miles on those tires. Like, they were looking for a possible upgrade at big man. Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of that movement other than Vucevic to the Bulls. And you look in the West, like, I've always subscribed to the opinion that nowadays, 2021, building around a legit 7-footer is going to be a hard thing to do in terms of winning a championship. And I'm speaking about the Denver Nuggets. Like, I've just always had my reservations, but we've seen Nikola Jokic is a different breed, right? Like, he's a playmaking big man. He's awesome. And guess where he's really awesome? In the clutch, in the post, the way he spins this way, that way, this way, flips it up. All of a sudden you're down 2 again, right? So the Denver Nuggets specifically, they have that that advantage right now, because you look at the West, DeAndre Ayton just can't figure it out with the Suns. Like he just, unfortunately, especially with the fact they picked him over Luka Doncic, he just can't seem to figure it out. The Clippers, I mean, Serge Ibaka is cool, but again, getting up there in age. The Trailblazers, I mean, NS Kanter, okay. The Mavericks is Porzingis going to be healthy? There's so many question marks in terms of each team's like premier starting big man, other than the Nuggets with Jokic, the Jazz with Rudy Gobert. But we've seen the Rudy Gobert experience with Utah in the playoffs. Doesn't always go well. We've also seen Nikola Jokic drop a career high 50 whatever points earlier this season against Rudy Gobert and the Jazz. And then that leaves, the Lakers with whenever AD comes back, but we know Davis, he doesn't necessarily like to bang around on the inside. Like, yeah, this could be a year that we see the big man, whether it's Jokic in Denver or back east, like I mentioned, Joel Embiid, if he's healthy and playing like he has this season when healthy, I mean, we could see the renaissance of the 7-footer that just bullies his way through the playoffs. And that would be fun, by the way.
That would be nice to see. And one of the reasons that I picked LA at the beginning of the season to go back to back was because of the presence of Anthony Davis and just what he can do inside against players who can guard. Like, there's not very many players that can guard what he can do in the block. So that was one of the reasons. And with him out, I mean, like you said, it really leaves things wide open. And with LeBron out, that kind of leaves the MVP race wide open if you don't have James Harden as your front runner.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up. I love the basketball reference MVP tracker. It's just they combine a lot of things just so you can kind of get a gauge of it. And they've got Nikola Jokic right now atop. And, I think it's his award to lose, as long as at this point, because of his numbers, what he's doing and the durability, as long as the Nuggets stay, they're at a 59% win percentage right now. As long as they hover around there, finishing the top half of the West, I think he's got a legitimate case. It's hard to consider Joel and LeBron candidates still, because who knows how long they're going to be out. And then it comes back, like I touched on earlier, Giannis, like, guys, 3-time MVPs just don't happen. It's happened 3 times in league history, 3 in a row, sorry. And that was Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, then Larry Bird.
Tough company.
Yeah. And as much as that, I mentioned in my now infamous TikTok I've referenced 5 times, I mentioned that that's a dumb reason. Like, if you say, why shouldn't Giannis win the MVP this year? Oh, because he's won 2 in a row. That's a dumb reason, but it's reason. That's what happens. Steve Nash's best season of his career was the season after he won 2 in a row. And he wasn't even like, he was not a candidate that year. So for me, MVP right now, it's Jokic. And I mean, the Harden thing's so weird. The Harden thing's so weird. And off the top of my head, I feel like I should know this. I don't know if a player has ever won an MVP after being traded during the season. Really? No,
they have not. No. And I'm such a, like, I am the biggest person away from a James Harden fan. Like, I absolutely hate his style of game. I hate this stupid little step back. That's a cheat code. You're taking like 3 steps. I can see you traveling. I don't know how the ref can't see you traveling.
Yeah.
But I can see you traveling. I don't know, something about his game this year. I don't know if it's thanks to Steve Nash. I don't know if it's just like he's just feeling more comfortable. He's just like, okay, I'm out of Houston. I'm doing the thing that I want to do. But I don't know, like, something about his game this year that he's almost winning me over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his game's different. Like, ironically enough, we've seen James Harden lead the NBA in assists before, and he's doing it again by a mile, averaging over 11 a game. He's more efficient overall, which is sometimes an issue with James Harden. He shoots a lot of threes, but he's making them this year. I will say his MVP case is a strange one because of the Houston stuff, because there's absolutely going to be some voters who say, sorry, you literally quit on the city of Houston and that's it. Like, you're done for this year, which, hey, I don't have an issue with that if that's the way you feel. And the other thing is, it's just, like Steph Curry or Kevin Durant didn't win an MVP when they joined forces in Golden State. Like, I know Kevin Durant's been injured a lot. Kyrie's been in and out, but Kyrie is also having a phenomenal season. In fact, he's in the top 10 as well there on Basketball Reference's MVP tracker. He's been that good. So, yeah, I mean, Harden's been great this year. And the other thing that's hard to quantify sometimes with MVP discussions is that as nice as Harden's been this season, last year and in years past, he's been better. I know that shouldn't really factor in because it's the same thing. Like LeBron James has had better stretches in his career, but he should still be considered for what he's doing this year. But I was just looking yesterday. Harden had a stretch last season, a stretch of 23 games in which he averaged 40 points a game. Like, that's madness. That is insane. And the Rockets won 16 of those games. And yet James Harden didn't win the MVP last year. And everything pales in comparison numbers wise to what he did last year. Right. Like, so it's a weird thing to try and wrap your head around. But yeah, for me, if I had to vote right now, I would still say, no, it's impossible to say if I had to vote right now, but if I had to guess how long Embiid and LeBron are going to be out and how it might take them out of the race. So if I had to kind of forecast where this is going, I would probably have Jokic, Giannis, and probably James Harden there third on my ballot.
Well, Jokic is someone that was kind of on my radar, but I didn't have him as high as you did. So that's a curious one. I'll have to look at him. Obviously, yeah, he's done some amazing things with Denver. And like you said,
it's kind of about the record for Denver though, because
if
outside of Russell Westbrook, you never see MVPs that are like middle of the pack in their conference. Like you kind of have to be a top 2 or 3 seed. So that could be the make or break factor for Jokic.
Yeah, but 26 and 18. I mean, it's not like that's a middle of the pack record. I mean, it's just the middle of the pack because they're behind the Lakers, the Clippers,
you're
the
right.
Suns, and the Jazz, right? So
like they're top 10 in league standings. So if you want to look at it that way, but yeah,
I mean, it's going to be definitely an exciting, like it shouldn't be one of those years that we're like, okay, we know who the MVP is going to be.
Right.
So joined by Jay Canada here on the Unnamed Sports Show, and I've taken up so much of his time already, but I want to get into his fantastic exploits, his new exploits with Basketball Cinema, his new channel on YouTube. And then of course his NBA 2K spin to win, all of these great, no money spent, his fantastic basketball channel that I've just been glued to for some reason. I don't even play NBA 2K1, but I just really enjoy all of your stuff on that channel.
Thank you. There's a dog barking in my home.
I thought it was on my end. I was like, wait, what's going on?
I'm sure it'll go away. I live in a basement suite, so it's the people upstairs. Every once in a while, I think somebody visits them with a dog. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, YouTube, it's good stuff. I've been doing it for a while. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah.
Let's start with your Basketball Cinema stuff, because I've been enjoying that. The latest one, I think, was the
Kobe Bryant.
The Kobe Bryant video. You've had the LeBron James, the block, the Kobe or the Michael Jordan, the game against Utah, the shot, the Kawhi Leonard game. I've really been enjoying them. They're about like 20-25 minute videos.
Long form. Yeah.
Just a breakdown and then just an analysis of everything in the game. I mean, I really, really enjoyed the Michael Jordan Utah one.
Yeah. So for people that haven't checked it out, you did a good job summarizing it. It's basically like, first of all, if you're a basketball fan, I've said this, I was actually on a podcast a few days ago and I was fielding similar questions as I was trying to promote my own thing. And it's hard for me to say this with like all sincerity, but like, I'm not meaning to toot my own horn, sound arrogant, but like these videos are really good. Like I would never say that about my own work.
They are. These videos, I will toot your horn. Toot your horn. These videos are really good. They're really enjoyable. And like they just encapsulate so much of what fans like about watching the basketball, and then just kind of having that little bit like looking at the extra pieces. What could have done this? Who could have?
Yeah. And that was my goal, Josh. I've had this idea. I had this idea literally over a year ago. Like I don't even know. It's like I dreamed it, but like in my mind, I was like, I've watched some other YouTube channels. Actually, there's one channel that I cite as like the inspiration for my channel. And ironically enough, because you'd never expect this, it's a horror movie channel. There's a horror movie channel on YouTube called Dead Meat. And this guy, James is his name. He takes a horror movie and breaks it all down and shows you what's happening and commentates over it and makes jokes about it. I don't even really like horror movies, but I once saw one of his videos in my recommended, and I just became hooked. And it's like, you don't even have to watch the movie because you see the recap of it from James A. Janice. So anyways, if you ever watch one of those videos, you can see I lifted that concept and thought I could do this with basketball, because there's these moments, like, especially, we all watched The Last Dance last summer. It was like, oh man, this is amazing. Like, that game from Michael Jordan was, he ended his career for the second time off a game winner. Like, that's unbelievable. But whenever you see that, or you see the clip of like LeBron James block, for example, or that game winner from Kawhi, or one of Kobe's many game winners, I personally, as a basketball fan, find myself thinking, man, I remember watching that game live, but I'm fuzzy on what the details were. Or B, like, I'm 26, 25 years old. I didn't see Michael Jordan's, I was 3 years old. So when I thought, like, there's got to be other people who feel that same way. The idea it kind of came to life in my head of, let's recap these games, show people the details, and point out things that happened in these games with these players. So much nostalgia in the NBA I find amongst fans, and there's more than any other sport. There's talk about, like, who's the greatest this of all time, the greatest player, the greatest scorer, the greatest this, the greatest team, the greatest game. And this idea just kind of feeds into all of that. And like I mentioned, I would never say this usually about my content, but the fact that I like had this idea, and as a basketball fan, I was like, I would love to see an idea like this. I would eat up these videos to then have, it was me, but to have someone kind of pull off these videos in a way that I think are super entertaining. I'm really proud of it. And it's been slow going. I mean, I've uploaded 4 videos so far, and I had maybe in the back of my mind, I was hoping this could take off really quickly. That's not how YouTube works, unfortunately. So it's been a slow build so far, and it probably will be for a while, but it's also just really fun to be making content that I'm passionate about. And hey, if 1,000 people, 1,500 people really like it, then I'm good with that too.
Well, I think that it is going to blow up because you are a great content provider, and you really have a great passion for the game. I mean, like you said, you're aging myself, but I'm much older than you, and your knowledge of basketball and the game and stuff is second to none. So I think that it's just going to flourish for you on that channel.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. And obviously I always have stuff to learn, so I'm trying to take in feedback for what people like or don't like. But just the base concept of it's like, let's learn and let's rehash more of like these great moments in the NBA. I think once YouTube helps me out a bit and pushes it into more people's recommended section, I think we'll have some success there. But again, I'll say, regardless of how many views I'm getting, I've really been enjoying making these videos. It's a passion project, so can't complain about that.
I have been enjoying them too. And another thing that I have been enjoying, so I'm not my producer who's on with us, who's not allowed to talk. He's a big fan of Jay from his YouTube videos from years and years ago. I just got on to you from Nothing But Net, and your time with TSN 1040, rest in peace. But another thing that I really like is your NBA videos. I am hooked. Like I said, I don't even play video games, but I'm finding myself, I'm tuning into all of them. I want to watch you get your cards. I want to watch you just like own these people and watch them quit. Or if you lose, make some kind of random excuse why you lose. So call you out on that one.
Yeah.
But talk a bit about that channel. And I mean, I know that one's super successful for you already. So.
Yeah, Jay Canada, that's the original channel I created back in, I think, 2014. I didn't really start taking it seriously until 2015, 16. Yeah. And I mean, trying to explain it to people who don't know it already has always been one of the most fun things, because it's like, oh yeah, people watch me play video games. That's the root of it. Now, something that I took very early on and still carry on versus some other creators that are like me is that I want my videos, and I do make my videos more about, my personality and just
Jay, if I can interrupt, your production value with them is second to none. I mean, like you said, you can tell that you take it sometime. You're like, I'm not just going to play, because you can upload it on Twitch. You can play video games on Twitch. but
Mhm.
you make playing video games kind of an experience.
Yeah, and that's just because it came from what I enjoyed watching. And in the early stages of when this became popular, people playing NBA 2K on YouTube, it was mostly like, let's make every video a banger, as the kids like to say. Let's make each one entertaining. And that's what I took. Now, the game has changed a bit to where quantity is appreciated a bit more than quality on YouTube and some other social platforms, which is unfortunate. But I can't change my DNA, man. Like, I just, like with the basketball cinema videos, like I am going to make them what I believe are true quality. And yeah, it pays off. I think it pays off. So I do actually, you shared out Twitch there. I do a bit of Twitch streaming, usually once or twice a week. I'll hop on there. And that's what the true, like, people are just watching me play video games. Like, that's what it is. But my videos, I do try and make like interactive, first of all, where I'm bringing in comment section, and I'm hoping people will, talk to me in the comment section about that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, I it's just something where it's fun. It's like, I'm going to create a 12 to 15 minute experience for people daily that enjoy my personality, maybe they do just enjoy 2K, maybe maybe it's just a distraction. And it's been a fun 5 or 6 years, and I'm pretty blessed that I can work from home here, as you can see, and make YouTube videos, and that be my living. That's, especially now that 1040 is gone, that's all I do. And it's allowed me the opportunity to branch out now. I know you didn't ask me, I don't know if you're planning on it, but since 1040 ended, I miss that paycheck. I'm not going to lie to you. And I really miss the people I worked with. I'm not just saying that. Like, it was an awesome experience. It was kind of my dream come true. I went to BCIT. I wanted to work in media, and I got a chance to. But it was also a bit of a blessing in disguise for me, in that as soon as it ended, I was like, all right, here we go. I'm making this new channel. I'm going to try and make my vision come to life. And I'm going to make a more concerted effort to branch out on Twitch as well. And as of this week, I'm making a TikTok, because that's where all the young kids are on. That's the app everybody's on. So, losing my job at 1040 has kind of opened up these different avenues, and, not all of them are going to be profitable. Not all of them have been, but it's sure fun. And I sure feel blessed to have the chance to do this.
Well, I really enjoy what you're doing, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers definitely enjoy what you're doing. And if you haven't checked them out already, make sure to check them out. Jay Canada on Twitter. Jay, if you can let us know what your Twitter is, and your handle, so they can follow you on that. And
yeah, funny enough, as I made this TikTok account, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, whenever this is going up, I was trying to figure out how to incorporate links into my bio on Twitter and Instagram. I was like, okay, I need to figure out which ones are most important, what to do. So I was batting around the idea. I was like, maybe I'll do like how some people pin a tweet with all their links.
Yeah.
But then I finally settled on making one of those link tree pages where you click.
Oh.
It's called Linktree. It's linked in my bio right now. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's free to create. So you click on it and it'll pop open. It's both my YouTube channels, my TikTok, my Twitter, my Twitch, my Instagram, and how you can contact me if you're looking to sponsor me. So anyways, long story short, follow me on Twitter at JCanada10. That's kind of the hub. And right there in the description, like I just said, you'll see all my links anywhere you want to find me. So I'm all over the place.
Well, fantastic. And Jay, thank you so much for joining me for a 40-minute conversation about basketball and everything. I mean, I could probably talk to you for hours about basketball. And I think people really love and really enjoy hearing you talk about basketball. So I'm glad that you're keeping up with things and creating your own content and new stuff with basketball cinema.
I appreciate all the kind words from you and your producer, who's not allowed to talk. It's always nice to hear from fans. So thank you specifically, though, for having me on. It's been too long since I was able to talk basketball. So I appreciate it, man.
Cool. You're welcome back anytime. So thank you very much.